What's going on, guys? I'm Tim Kelly. He's Anthony SanFilippo. This is Phillies Stoplight.
And this special Red October edition of Phillies Stoplight is brought to you by Wapner Newman, Philadelphia's personal injury attorneys.
So, Anthony, I got to admit, we were wrong about the Aaron Nola plan. It worked. There was a plan. Ranger Suarez was healthy. I still don't know if that's how I would have necessarily set it up, but they used Aaron Nola one time through the order for 2 innings. Ranger Suarez comes in for 5 innings, and all of a sudden the Phillies have life.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you're right. We were wrong about it. You know, we can admit it on camera. We were wrong. This plan worked out like a charm. And it's funny because the last time that they did something like this goes back 2 years, right, when they played the Atlanta Braves, and it was also involving Ranger Suarez. In that case, he was the starter,
yeah,
right? In this case, he comes in out of the pen. But that was a case where they pulled him, I think it was after, like 3 1/3 or 3 2/3, and then they bullpenned it the rest of the way. The Phillies didn't want to throw their bullpen against the Dodgers. They looked at it and said, we would love to just go Nola, Ranger, Joan Duran. And that was the plan. That was what they were going to do. Nola and Ranger did their part, and then Duran was ready to come in the 8th inning. But the Phillies blew the game open, and so they didn't need to use him at all. And he goes and sits back down. Rob Thompson said after the game that the plan was certainly for 6 outs out of Duran, and then if they needed him tomorrow, at most he would throw 1 inning. So now you got to a point where you didn't even have to use him tonight. That's how good the plan worked out, that you can now use him for multiple innings tomorrow in Game 4 if necessary. So yeah, Rob Thompson and Caleb Cotham and the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for putting this together, and it worked like a charm.
Yeah, and not having to use Duran is a massive development. And I think it was the right decision. If things had held and they were up 3-1 going into the 8th inning, I do think you would kind of run Ranger as far as he was going to go tonight, most likely. You're going to bring Duran in. He was going to go 6 outs. You live to see another day, and in less than 24 hours, you would have had to play, and it would have worked against you that Duran had pitched potentially 6 outs, but you need to get there. As it turned out, the Phillies didn't end up needing Duran, and we'll get more to the offense in a second, but I do want to talk about Nola and Suarez, both 2 of the longest tenured players with most postseason experience probably of anyone on this roster pitching-wise. For both of them to buy into this plan, Ranger Suarez is about to be a free agent. He certainly, it could have helped him to have just gone out and pitched 7 or 8 innings in a start. He buys into this plan. And even more than that, Aaron Nola is one of the most egoless stars that you will ever find. And I'm not going to go into like specific names, but there are other pitchers on the Phillies and other teams that would not have bought into this if they had the same amount of accomplishments that Aaron Nola did.
Can I just stop your conversation right now? John Cena is walking by. John Cena.
I've never been a fan, to tell you the truth.
Just walk past us. I just thought
thought
I'd mention that. That was just the weirdest thing. Anyway, get back to what you were saying.
I've never been a fan, but congrats to him on his retirement tour. Aaron Nola to be that egoless, it is remarkable to me. Because honestly, if I had accomplished what Aaron Nola had accomplished, regardless of how he pitched this season, which was not well, I would have been pretty pissed if you come to me and said, we're going to have you be an opener, essentially. He didn't. And guys throughout the team, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, different guys all complimented his willingness to buy into that plan. And I think that says a lot about the person. Again, obviously it was not an ideal year for Aaron Nola, and you have concerns about that contract moving forward. But for him to buy into that, to me, really deserves a shout out.
Yeah, 100%. And not only that, Schwarber said that he hopes Nola gets another opportunity this year to do it because, look, he threw 95 in the first inning. Don't be mistaken. Aaron Nola threw the hardest he maybe ever.
The hardest he has since he faced his brother. Yes. That sounds like a joke. I think it's true.
Right. So there's that. But more than that, there was a point in the first inning where we had an inflection point in this game. Mookie Betts, he gets Ohtani, and then Mookie Betts hits a single to center field. For whatever reason, Brandon Marsh decides to dive for the ball. Should have kept it in front of him, and it rolls back to the wall. Castellanos was late getting over, but that's not a surprise. So you get Mookie Betts on third. It ends up being a triple.
Yeah.
This could have gotten away really quick. Aaron Nola strikes out Teoscar Hernandez. Now, he hit Freddie Freeman, which is probably a good
blessing
thing.
in disguise because if not, Mookie Betts scores. But you're right.
Yeah, so he hits Freddie Freeman, and then he strikes out Will Smith.
Yeah.
That inning could have really spiraled out of control really quick, and Aaron Nola is the reason that it did not. And so, like, he gets a lot of credit. And then he had a good second inning. Like, it was a pretty quick second inning, 1, 2, 3, second inning. And that was it. That's all he needed to do. So it's probably more of a footnote in this game. But those of us who were here to watch it got to see just how important Aaron Nola was to this team in this moment for 2 innings.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then Ranger Suarez comes in, and he does it. The first pitch he throws is a home run by Tommy Edman. But after that, they scattered 5 hits and walked a guy. But he was really good. I mean, there is something to just, when you get to this point of the season, having a guy that you can just hand the ball to and say, go until you can't anymore. And Ranger Suarez is like the definition of that. That you can put him in any role, and he's just like a Swiss Army. Nathan Eovaldi was kind of a guy like that. Ended up almost being too good of a starter to stay in that role. But when the Red Sox, when Dave Dombrowski was their president of baseball operations in 2018, when they won the World Series, Nathan Eovaldi kind of took on that role. And I still think, I mean, I don't know based on the way this postseason's played out, but I think Ranger Suarez at some point is going to be a big impact as a starter. But what he did in this role after, I guess maybe we need to ask tomorrow, was he ever really available in those first 2 games, or was this always the plan? But if he was available in those first 2 games, didn't end up being needed, and then comes in today, basically is your bulk guy, essentially was your starter, even though he didn't start the game, going 5 innings with the season on the line and some questions about certain guys in the bullpen that you normally trust. For him to have that performance, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and you know, when you look at what he did here, Tim, first pitch he throws, Tommy Edman hits for a home run.
Yeah.
And you're thinking in that moment, right? And I even tweeted it out, and it was a fair tweet at the time. It grew pretty stale pretty quick. It was, you know, hot take exposed kind of thing, right? But in the moment, it was like, here's yet another button that the Phillies pushed that was the wrong one, right? Because the first pitch, Nola pitched so well through 2 innings, and the first pitch Ranger Suarez throws is a home run. The Dodgers didn't touch him after that.
No.
He was nails from that point forward. And it was so much so, Tim, that at 3-1 going into the top of the 8th inning, we knew, because we saw Duran warming up, that Ranger was done. But there was some skepticism about that. Like,
absolutely.
why were you taking him out as well as he's pitched? I think I don't even know what his final pitch count was, but it was not high. No. It was in the 60s. I think it was high 60s, right? Maybe it broke 70, whatever. But like, he could have gone another inning. But they were not going to do that. They were going to go to Duran for two innings there. But then, of course, the Phillies opened it up. But Ranger Suarez, Aaron Nola, to me, and we'll get to the offense. Obviously, you got 12 hits, 8 runs, 3 home runs. That's big. But those 2 guys are the reason that there's going to be a Game 4 tomorrow.
Without a doubt. And I mean, when Tommy Edman hit that home run, it was one of those moments where, like, Rob Thompson made the right decision here, and it got burned. And it just, to this point, and we've criticized some of the decisions. I don't think they were the right ones in games 1 and 2. But it was starting to feel like whatever this team does, it breaks the wrong way. And for you to win a World Series, as the Phillies found out in this stadium en route to a World Series in 08, like, was it genius to bring Matt Stairs up? It looks like it's genius because he hit a 700-foot home run. That's kind of what you need to happen in the playoffs, and it felt like the Phillies were getting the opposite of that for the first 20 innings of this series. And then all of a sudden, Kyle Schwarber steps to the plate and hits a ball out of the stadium. And I get he wasn't playing well in this series. He didn't have a great postseason last year, but he is someone you almost run out of times, whether it was the home run in Game 160 in Houston the other year or leading off a World Series game right after they got no hit with a home run. Whenever in this era the Phillies have needed a massive hit, it feels like Kyle Schwarber has come through with the game where he hits 2 home runs, and it's just, he doesn't like to talk about himself, but plenty of his teammates after the game, Bryce Harper, Aaron Nola, JT, they were all happy to talk about it, because even as guys, all those guys are all-stars, if not Hall of Famers in some cases, they find themselves kind of in awe of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that dugout breathed a sigh of relief when Kyle Schwarber hit that home run.
Basically said that. The clip is out on Pattison social feeds. JT basically said that unprompted.
and I didn't hear him say it because I wasn't in the room when he said it. But that's the reality. I mean, that like you could almost see that. Okay, we needed somebody. It didn't have to be Schwarber. Just so happened that it was. But we needed somebody to hit that big home run to kind of wake the offense up, and that's exactly what it did. And from there, almost every at bat thereafter, no matter who came to the plate, had a really good at bat.
Yeah.
Obviously, Schwarber hits 2 home runs. The first one was mammoth. The second one was into the front row.
The rare Kyle Schwarber fence scraper for the second one. But he is now, he entered the series tied with Bryce Harper at 12 home runs for the most in playoff history in the franchise history. Now at 14, and that's in 4 postseasons. Like, I've seen a few people say, well, they have way more postseason games now. I went back and crunched the numbers. Like, Mike Schmidt has still played in more postseason games. A bunch of these guys, Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Kyle Schwarber has just been on such a prolific clip. So not only is he that, he ties Bernie Williams for 3rd in MLB history in postseason home runs on the first home run, and then on the second home run, he passes him. So he is now 3rd in MLB history. Number 1 is Manny Ramirez. Number 2 is Jose Altuve. And I don't want to get too into it because I loved Manny Ramirez as a kid, but both of those players, I would say some of those home runs you can put an asterisk by some of the postseason home runs they did. Kyle Schwarber has a real chance to get close, if not past that at some point.
Yeah, he really does. And you know, and the other thing is that, you know, Altuve is still active, but how many more opportunities is he going to have in the playoffs? Astros didn't even make the playoffs this year. The stadium workers are around. That's what you guys are hearing behind us. We're going to do.
I thought about like 30 seconds ago being like, let's pause it. And at this point, we're just going to power through.
We have stuff to talk about the stadium that we're going to get to here before the end of this thing, right? But no, I mean, you know, it's very likely, Tim, that as long as Kyle Schwarber stays healthy, that he ends up being the all-time postseason home run hitter in Major League Baseball.
He's already left-handed the all-time.
Right.
I mean, name it, Reggie Jackson, David Ortiz, any left-handed hitter you ever want to name, Bryce Harper. Kyle Schwarber's blown them away at this point. And I get it, it's been a little streaky. Like, he hasn't been as great in the early rounds of the postseason, and it wasn't in this series until tonight. But when you can have it, it's not just like if he hits a solo home run, if the script is reversed and the first home run's a fence scraper, I don't know that it has that same type of effect. But for him to come through and the first home run the Phillies hit this series is the 455-foot home run, which to me still feels like underselling it. It takes a weight off of you. It sends a statement. It silences the crowd to a degree. It's one of those, even if you're the most diehard Dodgers fan or whatever team the Phillies have been playing in the postseason the last few years, you're just like, well, shit. I mean,
it was more impressive than Matt Stairs' home run. You know, Matt Stairs ripped one into the night, and that was a monster shot to right center. This thing went to over the last row and over the roof of the right field bleachers, which is
the other way. It's slightly out of the picture, but yes.
But it went over the roof of the right field bleachers, and it landed on like the area behind it where the standing room fans are. It was really impressive. It was one of the most impressive home runs I've ever witnessed in person. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
sure.
Especially considering it's a playoff game, right? An elimination game and everything else. It was something that dugout looks at that and goes, "Oh man, we're back."
To me, it had the same effect of the one he hit in San Diego. Now that one was further different. The stadium's laid out differently. It's probably warmer in San Diego that night than it was here tonight. But it's just what can you say at this point that hasn't already been said about Kyle Schwarber? But I do feel like we have to continue repeating it. 56 home runs during the regular season, and I did see some people after the Phillies went down 0-2, and I understand there was an urgency to kind of be like, all right, things might have to change here. I don't see a scenario where things change moving forward involving Kyle Schwarber and you don't get significantly worse, and tonight was a major reminder of why that is.
Yeah, there's no question. He is the engine for this team.
He's the best player on the team. And no disrespect to Bryce Harper, to Christopher Sanchez, to whoever. Over the last 2 years, the best Philly, especially since Wheeler was unable to finish the season, has been Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah. Speaking of engines, Trey Turner, 3 hits out of the leadoff spot
Absolutely,
tonight.
yeah.
Looked a lot more like Trey Turner before the injury.
Minus the first at bat with the bunt. That was maybe trying too hard
I
by the
think
Phillies.
that well, so it's, I don't
And
think,
it wasn't just him. Like,
Yeah.
that seemed to be something that they thought Yamamoto maybe couldn't field the bunt. And
Yeah.
clearly, if they thought Max Muncy couldn't field, they probably were onto something, because that ended up being a big factor in the game. Max Muncy's inability to get in front of balls, the Pattison throw. My initial read was, oh, wow, that was a terrible throw. It goes into the dugout. The Phillies score a run. It was there. He probably should have made it. Harper probably should have been out at third base.
Yeah.
Instead, he scores, and it turns out that it's not just Harper providing a spark in that inning.
Yeah, and Muncy also had an error on Castellanos. Castellanos comes around to score. He's not a very good third baseman defensively.
No, and they made sacrifices, and it's worked. They won a World Series. Max Muncy's been a tremendous hitter this era for them. But to have Freeman and Ohtani, like, in a perfect world, Max Muncy is a first base / DH, and both of those spots are blocked here.
By better players.
Yeah, by Hall of Fame. I hate the word generational, but those two, certainly Ohtani, and Ohtani might even be underselling it to call him generational, but if anyone's generational, it's him. So it makes sense, but that was a weakness kind of exposed today by the Phillies, was Max Muncy at third base.
Yeah, for sure. I felt JT's home run was another big one.
Yeah.
Because the Phillies are up at that point, it's 3-1, and they had a couple of opportunities before JT's home run with guys on base, second and third. Harper didn't get the hit, right? There was a couple of chances that they had. The first inning Kershaw was in. That
They kind of exposed Brandon Marsh against lefties.
Yeah.
The Dodgers clearly were very comfortable having him face lefties. It was not a good night for Brandon Marsh. He did have a sac fly, but some bad plays in center field.
Yep.
I mean, obviously the first one, but then
You get another one.
stepping back
Yeah.
on the initial
On the
read.
single there.
I do think Bader catches that ball most likely. So it wasn't a good night for him. But
No, yeah, but this is my point. Like, the Phillies had a couple of chances and couldn't do it. And you're starting to sit there and thinking to yourself, they had an opportunity to put this game away, and they haven't. And the Dodgers are such a good team that they're going to figure out a way to score a couple of
Oscar
runs.
Hernandez is going to hit a 3-run home run again, or something.
All of a sudden, when Muncy comes to the plate with 2 guys on base,
Right.
and you're thinking that's the moment.
Yeah.
And then they get him to, Ranger gets him to hit into a double play, so it worked out. But Real Muto's home run again gives them that 3-run cushion, which changes everything. Really, really changes everything. So I think that lost in the shuffle again in the night. We'll talk, the storylines that we're talking about. But JT's home run I thought was pretty big.
What was also exposed tonight was some of the issues at Dodger Stadium. Like, don't get me wrong, with the palm trees and everything, this is a beautiful, like, scenic field.
Yeah.
But some of the other parts of the stadium, like, I know not that many people care about the media, but I do. They have 40 seats in the press box to cover the LA Dodgers. That's not even enough to cover the home team. We're shoulder to shoulder in there. You have all these media members, many of them
From Japan.
yeah, were either from Japan or have moved here because they cover Ohtani and different other players. And you have them, like, sitting in a separate room
Watching on TV.
Watching on TV. They have no view. It's a terrible way to. You're the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is not insert Pittsburgh Pirates or some, like, small market budget team. You have 55,000 seats in this stadium. You can't carve out a little more room to have, like, a comfortable experience for people.
Yeah. Tonight was a sellout, and they still didn't fill every seat.
Right.
Right. I mean, there was 53 something.
Yeah.
Tonight, right. And so they had like 2,000 empty seats. You mean to tell me you couldn't put the excess media somewhere else? But it's not even that, Tim. Moving around this place, it's literally easier to get into Fort Knox or to get into the White House.
Well, and the Phillies clubhouse is the smallest I've ever been in terms of opposing clubhouse at any stadium. It's just, it's tiny. I can't believe that I wasn't here. You were here for the it was clincher the other week. And I remember on TV being like, wow, that was quick. Yeah, it was quick because there's a pole in the middle of, like, it kills the vibe. Like, you can only get so hype in a room that small. So I don't know. I mean, it's a cool, the surrounding area of this stadium is, like, as cool as it gets. But there are limitations to a stadium built in the 1960s.
Yes, and it's still designed like the 1960s. It's got no upgrades. I mean, it's a couple of little things on the suite levels and things like that. The scoreboards obviously have been upgraded. since then. They're not quite up to snuff for modern stadiums, but it's not bad. It's in that regard. But man, is it old in a lot of other ways.
Well, and that's one of the things with any of these classic ballparks that have been around for this long, that you kind of make some sacrifices on, and on TV it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it is still like a cool experience to come to this stadium or any of the other classic ones, but you do give up some of the modern amenities that you take for granted. And to a degree, that's cool. Like, I like at this stadium, it's a lot less about digital boards and you just focus on the game, but there's some other areas where it's lacking. But
and then there was the Sandy Koufax moment too.
well, it's another story for another day. Not that he did anything wrong.
No,
the
Sandy
legend,
was
the
fine.
left arm of God. But
Yes.
everything's good with Sandy Koufax and John Cena, as we just found out a minute ago. But we have a million stories to write. There will be a game in less than 24 hours. Here's the Phillies.
Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers going up against Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. A little bit of one little Dodgers note just worth putting out there. Not that he's great, but Tanner Scott, who was their closer for most of the season, hasn't really been used in this series yet. Wasn't even here today. Dave Roberts said that he didn't even show up at the ballpark.
Just now hearing that for the first time.
Yeah, so I tweeted it out. It's all right. Apparently there was some kind of personal issue that we're going to find out about, whether it's tomorrow or the day after. We're going to hear about it. Hope everything's okay for Tanner Scott, but the Dodgers are down a pitcher right now. And so the question I think that the Dodgers now have to ask themselves is, do we make him leave the team and bring somebody else in?
That's huge.
Knowing that if they do that, he wouldn't. Right, he
can't
be
go to the
available.
World Series. I think
So
he can't be in the NLCS. I think he can come back in the World.
But so he couldn't pitch in the NLCS. You're knocking him out for the next round.
Yeah, there's different things you can petition and stuff, but that's huge because Kershaw came in today, was not good. You only have so many lefties, and even though Kyle Schwarber's raked against lefties, like, you still want to have lefties to face this team. So it's a huge development. We will keep track of all those developments on Pattison.com.
And last thing on this, I know you want to wrap this up. We have about 40 seconds. If the Phillies do come back and win this series, was this the last time Clayton Kershaw pitched?
Yeah,
In his major league career, and the Phillies crushed him.
And the Phillies a few years ago retired Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols, and they have the chance to potentially do it again here. I mean, in this case, it's different because Kershaw has never been good in the postseason, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes that gets exaggerated with people. It's really not with him. But a legend, and it was a cool moment when he came out. With, I think, fans realizing, even if the series goes back to Philly and the Dodgers win in 5, Clayton Kershaw's not going to pitch tomorrow. So if by a miracle, based off of where they were at, if the Phillies come back and win this series, then it's possible that's the case. It's getting ahead of ourselves, but worth noting considering he's one of the greatest pitchers to ever suit up.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Now you can wrap it up.
That'll do it. We will talk to you guys next time.
Thanks to Wapner Newman.
Thank you, as always, to Wapner Newman, and there will be at least one more Red October episode. We'll see you guys.